Welcome to Doctors on Call. I am Dr. Sonia Lal Gupta. In the last few weeks, we've heard a lot about stents. Just last year, more than 6 lakh of these life-saving stents were used in India. But what are these stents and how do they help? Our in-house medical expert, Dr. Sameer Gupta, is an interventional cardiologist and uses them to treat patients every day. Today, we will understand what are these stents, what is the difference in these types of stents, how they help us, and also get a unique doctor's perspective on this entire thing. Welcome to the show. So, Dr. Gupta, what exactly is a stent?
Thanks, Sonia. Yes, NPPA capping the price of stents has certainly made a lot of news, but we will leave that aside for a second. Now, a simple way to describe a stent is like a spring in a ballpoint pen, and I have a thing over here, and this is what a stent actually looks like. Now, a stent is basically a metal scaffold that are implanted in your coronary artery by doing a procedure called coronary angioplasty. Now, the stent is basically placed across the area of blockage. Now, if you have blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes and other such problems, then over a period of time you can develop blockages in the arteries of the heart, and you can see that on this model over here that this yellow is the blockage in the artery, and because of the blockage lesser amount of blood flows through and you can have problems. So when we place a stent, the stent is placed across the area of blockage. As you can see over here, we take a balloon and the stent is mounted on a balloon, and like in this shot, and then we place it across the area of blockage. And once the stent is implanted, the blockage is pushed to the side and there is good flow of blood. So the first stent was actually implanted in the heart in 1986. Since then there have been various changes and upgradation in technology and science, and we started with a simple bare metal stent, which was basically a metal scaffold made up of stainless steel, and we now have the latest generation of bio-absorbable stents that completely dissolve in the body.
So that is really interesting. But what is the difference in these types of stents?
So the initial stents were just simple stainless steel stents. They were a stainless steel scaffold that were used to treat these blockages, and they were called bare metal stents. When we compare it to the treatment before, which was balloon angioplasty, they worked really well. But when we started following these patients, we noticed that about 30% of them were still closing down at the end of 6 months, and these stents were closing down. What we found was that when we place these stents, there is formation of scar tissue. And this scar tissue is similar to what happens when you get hurt and your doctors put stitches and there's a scar which is formed. And a similar scar was forming when we were placing these stents, and that led to the closure of these stents. That led to the next generation, which is the drug-eluting stents, also called the DES. Now, unlike the bare metal stents, the drug-eluting stent is a little bit more complex. Now, there is the stent. Now, the stent actually it's the actual metal, but what the drug-eluting stent also has is a polymer and a drug. The polymer is basically a very thin film on which the drug is placed. Now, these are specialized drugs that are coated in an attempt to reduce the scar so the stent can stay open longer and doesn't close down, and they worked really well. We were able to reduce the chances of blockages by almost 70%.
That's amazing. So, are these stents exactly similar to the bare metal, just with the coating on top, right? The drug-eluting stents.
Yeah, so when the initial drug-eluting stents came out, the first generation stents were made up of stainless steel and they contained the drug. But they were a little bulky and we were often having trouble in reaching difficult to reach places. So there was further innovation, further R&D was done, and the second generation stents were made that were completely different. So we started using newer alloys like platinum chromium and cobalt chromium, and we were significantly able to reduce the thickness of the stent. So this thickness of the stent that you see over here, we were able to significantly get this down from 140 micrometers approximately to almost 70 micrometers. It's almost half the thickness. And this improved the ability of cardiologists like me to deliver the stent, and we were able to treat vessels that could not be treated before. Now the drugs were also newer and better, and we were able to further reduce the stent from closing down. So yes, the second generation stents are definitely better.
I've heard a lot about the bio-absorbable stents. What exactly are these?
Yes, there have been further developments, and the latest generation, the new kid on the block, is the bio-absorbable stent. Remember that polymer I told you inside the stent that holds the drug? We now have bio-absorbable polymers that completely dissolve over a period of time and lead to some benefit. And now there is the absolute latest generation where the complete stent dissolves in the body. And this is the latest technology, and this is the new kid on the block. And most recently in America last year, they got FDA approval.
I think that was very, very interesting. So the next time you hear of a stent, I hope everyone will have an idea about what they're all about. Thanks for watching. That's all for now. See you next week.